everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be my January wrap up. I read a total of 10 books in January. 2 of them were rereads. I read 3 physical books and 7 ebooks. I had a pretty busy month in January, so reading 10 books I feel like is pretty good. Like, I'm very happy with that number. I didn't love a lot of what I was reading, which sucks, but I did read some books that I needed to read and that I have been meaning to read for a long time. So I'm happy I also was able to do that. But I feel like I had a pretty good start to the new year reading wise, so I'm just going to jump straight in. The first book I read in January was Sincerely the Puck Bunny by Marin Moore. This is the second book in the Totally Pucked series. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This follows Briggs, who is a hockey player, and he has kind of had a rough time lately with the press, so he decides to kind of take a couple of days away and go to this Airbnb where he meets our female character Madison, and they instantly have this connection and they hook up and go their separate ways, and then Madison ends up getting pregnant. I liked this. I really liked Briggs and Madison. I definitely felt their chemistry. I liked them together. I liked them separately. However, I just felt like something was missing, and I think like the entire time it was so obvious everything that Madison was hiding from Briggs. I did love how Briggs wanted a family and he really wanted to be with Madison and with their baby, and he just wanted to be the best dad he could be. And he was just like so obsessed with Madison and their little girl, and it was so cute. Like, I loved that aspect of this book, how much he just wanted them and wanted to be with them. It was so adorable. I liked the sex scenes in here. I thought they were pretty good. And I love how Madison was the one that had to grovel. She completely screwed up and she was the one that had to win back Briggs, and I liked that aspect in here. I just felt like there was something a little bit missing with this book, but overall I still really liked it. The second book I read was Juniper Hill by Devney Perry. This is the second book in the Eden series, and this I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This follows Memphis, who moves to Quincy from New York with her 2-month-old baby, and she's hired to work at the Eloise Inn as a housekeeper, and she'll be living next door / like in the same yard. I feel like I'm kind of confused on like the living situation. I feel like I really didn't read it properly, but essentially she lives like next door or like in the same yard as Knox Eden, who is technically her landlord and the chef / owner of the restaurant that is connected to the Eloise Inn. I really loved this. I think I liked it better than the first book, and I really liked the first book. I loved both Memphis and Knox. I thought they were great characters and I loved them together. I feel like Memphis as a character was very realistic. You know, she left her entire family to kind of start over, and she was a single mom, and she's kind of a mess. Like, she's constantly crying and upset, and she is trying like her hardest, and her dealing with her son Drake and like how fussy he was and how he was constantly crying and she didn't know what to do. There was just something about it that felt so real to me and realistic, and I liked that aspect. It wasn't like so easy for her, and you could really see her try her best and to be like the best version of herself, but still falling apart and having a really hard time. And I loved Knox. I thought he was such a fantastic male character. He really wanted to help Memphis, but he was scared of getting close to her and being heartbroken if things didn't work out. I loved them as like a little family. They were so adorable. Just them slowly like building this family bond. I love the Edens as a family overall. Like, they were so accepting and loving of Memphis and her son. I loved the epilogue. It was so cute. I just really loved this book overall. I loved pretty much everything about it. I will say it was a little slow at times, and Devney Perry always adds in like kind of a mystery suspense aspect at the end, which I don't always love, but I knew it was coming. So far, this is my favorite book of the year. I really, really liked it. Then I read Totally Folked by Penny Reed. This is the first book in the Good Folk modern folktales series. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This follows Raquel, who is a well-known actress who goes to a friend's wedding in Green Valley where she meets Deputy Sheriff Jackson James, and they have an unforgettable night together. They have like this instant connection. They truly feel something more for each other, but they end up going their separate ways. And 5 years later, Raquel is back in Green Valley and she bumps into Jackson, and they quickly realize that they cannot deny their connection. I really enjoyed this, but I feel like it was a little too long. I feel like it definitely dragged at some moments. I think maybe there was a little bit too much like inner dialogue or like inner monologue. I did find that both characters were very interesting and different. Jackson was pretty like serious and he just didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but sometimes that would make him hurt other people's feelings, if that makes sense. Raquel was a little bit more like outgoing and forward with what she wanted, but also she was very scared of like getting her heart broken. I love how even though they had like insane chemistry and they were both very much into each other, I like how they kind of built like this slow friendship that eventually developed into more like they both really tried to take their time to get to know each other. I loved seeing all of the other Winston brothers and family in here. It was nice to see Cletus in here. I love him. Raquel and Jackson both had like self-esteem issues, which I think like really affected their relationship. Like they both didn't think that they were good enough for each other. It just felt like a lot of back and forth between them not communicating, and then also when they did communicate, it wasn't like very clear on what they were trying to communicate, if that makes sense. But I did think it was a very cute, sexy, quirky romance. The next book I read in January was Jock by Sarah Nye. This is the 5th book in the Jock Heart series, and this I gave 2 out of 5 stars. This follows Jack, who is horrible at rugby, but he is determined to follow in his brother's footsteps. And while escaping a party where they plan to have a team meeting that he doesn't want to participate in, Jack goes home with a random girl and he meets her roommate, Eliza. Jack is immediately interested in Eliza, but Eliza isn't interested in dating somebody who her friend is into. This was pretty cute and sweet, but it was a little bland and definitely forgettable. I liked Jack and Eliza's banter, and they definitely had some very hot sex scenes. I feel like the major problem with their relationship could have been easily fixed if Jack would have just said something. Like, he didn't tell Eliza that he wasn't interested in that other girl anymore, and then he didn't tell the other girl, like her roommate, that he wasn't into her anymore. Like, I don't know, I just feel like Jack kind of just went with the flow and he didn't admit anything or say anything, and instead Eliza just felt guilty all the time that she liked him because she thought her friends also liked him. There were parts I liked, but I just feel like it was very basic and just not that great. Then I read Tin Queen by Devney Perry. This is the 6th and final book in the Clifton Forge series, and this I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This follows Nova, who is on a mission to avenge her brother and her father by taking down former members of the Tin Gypsy Club. She starts a no strings attached fling with Emmett, who is one of the former members, and also the son of the man her father killed. I actually really enjoyed this, and I will say this is probably my 3rd favorite in the series. I really liked Nova and Emmett. I felt like Nova was a very unreliable narrator. Like, in her point of view, it was hard to figure out if we should like her or not, and it made me feel a little disconnected from her because I didn't know how I should feel about her, essentially. Emmett was like a big, tough guy, but he was also really soft on the inside. Like, he had a really big heart and he felt a lot, and he really tried to be a good guy after all of the bad things that he has done in the past. He really tried to change and be a better person. I feel like Emmett definitely fell first, and I really loved that. He just really wanted to be with Nova and to finally like talk about themselves and like share more. And Nova was definitely way more guarded. I mean, obviously she wanted to take him down and all of the other members. And I do feel like it was kind of obvious that there was like a bigger secret and a bigger situation going on than Nova knew about. But I was actually pretty surprised with what was revealed, if that makes sense. Like, I was surprised, but then I also wasn't. I really enjoyed the epilogue. I thought the ending was very bittersweet, and it was nice to see all of the whole gang be together and be happy. It does make me wonder if Devney Perry is going to write a spin-off, or she's going to make some of the kids from this series fall in love with kids from another series. I feel like that could possibly happen. Devney Perry's books are always connected in some way. I will say I really enjoyed Nova's situation with her dad. I thought that was very interesting, and I love the conversation that she had with him and stuff. It was a great conclusion to the series, but I do feel like something was missing a little bit for me. Then I read River Wild by Samantha Tell. This I gave 2 out of 5 stars. The summary itself is very vague, but Carrie is pregnant, running away from her demons, and finds a temporary safe haven with River, her grumpy neighbor who has plenty of demons of his own. Trigger warnings for child abuse, domestic abuse, and sexual assault. This book is definitely heavy in the beginning. I felt really bad for both Carrie and River. I just wanted them to be happy and to be safe, but I didn't connect to them. I feel like I couldn't connect to them. I don't know if it was the pacing of this book, because it did feel slow at some moments and then it felt very fast. They definitely formed a very quick friendship and a very quick bond that obviously developed into something way deeper and more meaningful. It definitely was heartfelt and had some emotional moments, but I just didn't feel super connected to the characters and like the overall plot. I just felt like not a lot was happening. I didn't realize that this was about like child abuse and stuff, and I realized like that is one of my like boundaries, that I don't like to read about that, and I didn't know that going into this. I wanted to keep reading because I was interested in what was going to happen, but I don't know, I feel like maybe that's why I didn't love this book. One of River's hobbies, it just kind of felt weird. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, it made sense, but it just felt weird to the story. It was like, okay, like we're going in this weird direction now. I don't know. I had like a lot of issues with this book, but I did like the whole like baby aspect and them forming this friendship and slowly becoming this family. Then I read Homecoming King by Penny Reed. This is the first book in the Three Kings series, and this I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This follows Abigail, who is a bartender, and one night Rex walks into her bar, and he is a huge football star, but also her childhood school crush. Rex ends up getting drunk and needs a ride home, so Abby decides to drive him home, but he ends up having a proposition for Abby that she can't refuse. I know that seems very vague, but this is a marriage of convenience romance and like Grumpy Sunshine. I actually really liked this, but I feel like I'm very torn on how I want to rate it. I did initially give it 4 stars, but now I'm thinking maybe I should give it 3 stars. I don't know how I feel about this book, to be honest. It was a very cute and sweet romance, and I liked both characters, but I wish it was in dual POV. I also wish it was a little bit longer. It just felt very like short and sweet. Abby is such a hardworking, strong, fun character, and Rex is, you know, kind of a little bit of a grump, but he has like the biggest heart. He's genuinely such a good guy. He has a little bit of a bad reputation because the media portrays him as this player and as this kind of guy who dates these women and then they turn around and meet their soulmate right after dating Rex. And it bothers him the way that the media looks at that, because he's genuinely just trying to be a good guy and to help his friends find love. I loved Abby and Rex's banter in here. They flirted with each other, which was really cute. I like how Rex was really just all in from the beginning, and he was kind of waiting for Abby to make her own decisions and figure out how she felt. I also just loved how like Rex set up so many couples, and like he made all of his friends really happy, and he finally got the opportunity to find love and to be in love and to get his own happy ending. I think I'm going to stick with the 4-star because I did really like this. The next book I read was Beautiful Bombshell by Christina Lauren. This is book 2.5 in the Beautiful Bastard series. This was a reread for me, and I did give it 3 stars. I first read this back in November of 2013, and I had initially given it 4 stars. But rereading it, I just realized it was not a 4-star for me. This follows Max, Will, and Henry, who take Bennett to Vegas for his bachelor party, but things don't really go to plan. This was really funny and cute and sexy. I love how Max and Bennett were both so domestic and so in love with Chloe and Sarah, and they just wanted to spend their entire time with them. They didn't care about hanging out with the boys and drinking and gambling and doing all that stuff. They just wanted to be with their women. There were a lot of cute, funny moments in here with the whole gang. I feel like there's not much to say about this because it's so short, and I feel like anything else would be spoilers, but I did have fun rereading this. Then I reread Beautiful Player by Christina Lauren. This is the 3rd book in the Beautiful Bastard series, and this I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This essentially just follows Hannah, who gets a lecture from her brother to stop focusing on work and to have more of a social life, and he suggests that she call his best friend Will to help her socialize. I had initially given this 4 stars, and I kept the same rating. I really love Will and Hannah. I forgot how quirky Hannah was. Like, she's a little weird and different. Like, she's very, I wouldn't say outgoing, but she definitely doesn't have a filter. Like, she's very honest and very talkative in a way. So Hannah and Will both live in New York. Hannah has pretty much known him her entire life because he was best friends with her brother, and he would spend like a lot of summers and vacations at their house. And Hannah has always had a crush on him. Like, she has always been into him ever since she first saw him, but she felt a little betrayed when he like hooked up with her sister when they were younger. And she kind of immediately just saw him as this playboy and someone who didn't have any serious relationships. And Will is a lot older now. He's like in his 30s. Hannah is like 24, I think. So there is an age gap in here. Will is kind of over the hookup scene a little bit. He is definitely bored with it, and he's now getting to know Hannah as like an adult, and he's realizing how much he actually likes her. Hannah is really naive when it comes to relationships. Like, she hasn't ever really been in a real relationship, and she is very curious and she wants to experiment, and she ends up asking Will to kind of help her out with that, to date, because she knows how much of a player he is. There was definitely a lot of miscommunication in here. Like, they both wanted more but wouldn't tell each other. Like, Will wanted more but was scared to tell Hannah because he thought that she just wanted to explore and kind of start hooking up with people because she's young. And Hannah wanted to explore, but she also did want something more with Will, but she was scared because she still thought of him as a player and she didn't want to get her heart broken. So they just couldn't communicate, which did annoy me. I loved their sex scenes. I thought they were very hot, especially when they go home and they hook up in like the guest bedroom and her brother almost catches them. Like, that was great. I loved that. And it was just like all the little things that Will would do for Hannah that she just like didn't notice, or like it wasn't obvious to her. It was just super cute and fun and sexy, and I am so glad I finally reread it. And the last book I read in January was Through My Window by Ariana Godoy. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This just follows Raquel, who is obsessed with her hot rich neighbor Aries, even though they have never communicated, they have never interacted before. But after a random encounter between them, Raquel is determined to make Aries notice her and fall in love with her. I did pick this up because it's a Netflix movie. I think it comes out for me on Friday. I'm really excited for the movie, and I thought maybe I'll just read the book first. I liked this, but I do feel like it was maybe a little too young for me. It isn't like YA, it's definitely new adult. The characters are in high school, but there is full smut and everything in here. The romance was sweet and cute, but this book wasn't anything super special. I do think if I would have read this like a couple of years ago, I probably would have loved it a lot more. It's just not my type of romance anymore. Raquel was definitely a good girl and Aries was a bad boy, and he had a lot of issues. Their relationship was a little toxic, but I love toxic relationships in books, so that didn't bother me at all. There was definitely a lot of back and forth though. It was weird how it was just kind of glossed over that like Raquel literally stalked Aries. Like she actually like would follow him places. And like she was so obsessed with him that she like had her Wi-Fi password about him. Like it was just weird how that was like barely talked about, how absurd that is. Like that low-key made me a little uncomfortable that she was so obsessed with him and they had never talked before, but she knew him her whole life. Like what? Like how could they have never talked and they were neighbors? I did enjoy how Raquel kind of made Aries like work for their relationship and work for her. And Aries definitely changed for the better. He definitely became a better person. I love how Raquel like pushed him to be a better person and to like go after what he wants. And it was nice to see him kind of like stand up for himself against his family and stuff. And I did think like the epilogue and the ending was very cute. And I like how they made everything work. I also like how there wasn't like a huge misunderstanding or like miscommunication towards the end. Like that was really nice. It was just kind of like friend and family drama. I don't know, there were things I liked about this, but then at the same time I did feel like it was a little too choppy with like the storyline and like things that were happening. Like it just kind of felt all over the place. Also, there is a lot of sex scenes in here, which I did not expect. I thought maybe like one or two, but there was actually a lot of smut in here, which wasn't that bad, to be honest. Like I said, I'm very excited to watch the movie and hopefully I enjoy it more than the book. So that was it for my January wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I feel like I was kind of all over the place, so I'm sorry. I feel like I haven't done a wrap up in a very long time, but let me know how many books you read in January and which one was your favorite. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!